Listening to our news, reading our website, checking our Facebook page this morning. You know of the death of Chuck Spadafora, one of the great gentlemen of Indiana and Indiana County. And as we've heard this morning through some of the news items that we've had, a servant to his country as well. And I thought that would be a good place to start our conversation this morning with a fellow Marine. That is Tony Renda, our CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of Renda Broadcasting. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, Todd. Good morning.
It's good.
Todd, you mentioned what a great gentleman. He was a gentleman. What a gentleman. You don't say that much about Marines, but he was an absolute gentleman. Everyone who knew him, you immediately liked Chuck. When his mom and dad, Cecil Ann, they came to Indiana, their first dealership store location was on Fifth Street, right across from my mom and dad's grocery store. And they lived a couple of doors up. And at that time, it was obviously Mr. Spadafora, Cecil. Everyone called him Cecil. He didn't allow anybody to call him Mr. Spadafora. Mm-hmm. And Ann and Chuck and Billy. And I don't know that I have ever met anybody who had a bad word to say about Chuck Spadafora. What a great individual, and not only he's lost to his family, but a loss to our community. He was involved. He took action. Here's a guy that goes to the Naval Academy, elects to become a Marine, goes to Vietnam, comes back to Indiana, and just shows that same kind of leadership. What a loss for all of us.
Those neighborhood friendships that are built as young people, they last lifetimes, don't they?
They do. You know, I can remember going to his house and playing, and I was a little older than Chuck, or them coming down. You know, you played in large groups of people, and kids, I should say, large groups of kids. Nobody worried about where you were or what you were doing. You just knew that at a certain time you had to be back home. And generally it was supper time. They talk about when the lights go out on the street. Well, you might have gone out after supper time, but you had to be home at supper. It wasn't called dinner. We didn't have enough money to call it dinner. We called it supper. But what a fun guy. And I talked to Chuck a couple of weeks ago, and the strength and the leadership that he showed throughout all of this fight against cancer, and maybe about 6 months earlier, he was asking me how I was. And I said, I got this hip that bothers me, and he telling me what to do. You've got to take this, and you got to do this, and so and so and so and so. But it's a loss, and quite frankly, what a shock. It's a shock. You expect someone like Chuck Spadafora, who kept himself in great shape, by the way. Mm-hmm. You expect that to just go on and on and on. And so my condolences to Indiana and Indiana County, not only his family, but the loss to Indiana. We need more Chuck Spadaforas in the world.
Absolutely. His advocacy for children, his interest, his overall curiosity about children and what made them tick and how he could help them really stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah, but doesn't that refer back to his family life? I mean, think about, family. We all look at children as the oncoming group. And the love for them, the innocence of children. My mother once said to me, she said, "You like to talk to children and old people." And I said, "Yeah, Mom, because children and old people generally don't put on airs. They don't lie. They are what they are. They're fun." And I think Chuck realized that, the oncoming generation is always who we look to.
Absolutely. Tony, it's been good to spend some moments with you reflecting on the loss of Chuck Spadafora. It will be felt for many generations to come, but what a legacy he leaves.
Yes, the loss is always sad. But I would say to everyone, just remember all that he did, all that he brought, and all the smiles, all the happiness, and all the laughter that he created in his life.
Absolutely. Thanks again for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Todd. Bye-bye.
Bye now. There's Tony Renda, our CEO here of Renda Broadcasting, talking about his friend and ours, Chuck Spadafora.